2. Basically we're going to be showing you how to make a peg. So in the woods, if you need to peg out a tarp, peg out a guy line, anything like that that requires a peg, this should be quite an easy, straightforward, simple explanation as to how to go about making a peg. It's not as clear and simple as you might think. So about 1.5 centimetre diameter branch, you want to cut off about 6 inches. Okay. What we're going to use is silky gomboy, or saw of choice. For most beginners you'll find that'll be a backhoe Laplander. That's usually one of the cheapest go-to saws. It's reliable, cuts quite quick, blades are cheap and easy to replace. That was our go-to saw. Anyway, I digress. So, and we're also going to be using the Condor bush law. I'll show you why after. Okay, so once you've cut your piece of 6-inch branch off, okay, we're going to make what's called a stop cut. Now you want to be perhaps making your stop cut, I would say 2.5, maybe, yeah, I'd say about 2.5 inches down from one of the ends. Now a stop cut is basically just a straightforward cut across the cross section like that. So it's not angled, it's not angled that way, it's just a straight cut down into the wood. Okay, I'll try and do this without cutting my sheet. Here we go. So you want to perhaps go in, I would say, probably about 1/3 of the way through the wood. You just don't want to be too close to halfway, because then you run the risk of it snapping under tension. Okay, so about that far onto the blade. Okay, so not really too deep, but that should be enough. Okay, so it's just a straight, well, it's not very straight, but yeah, it's just a straight down cut straight into the wood. Okay, now this is where the bush law comes in. Okay, 50 quid, versatile, robust, Scandi grind, easy to sharpen, nice chunky handle, bushcraft knife, really good to use. Okay, so from the stop cut that we've made, we're going to come back about probably about 1.5 centimetres. Okay, and we're going to angle the blade, the spine of the blade, towards yourself, so that we're then on an angle. Okay, and you're going to use your left hand. So say if you're a right hand knife holder, okay, you hold the stick with your left hand, angle your blade with your thumb. You're going to do a push cut into the stop cut, and this will be kind of pretty self-explanatory. So when I push into the wood, okay, we cut away like that, you can see the knife not continuing past where we've cut, so it's stopping. You hear it hit, and that is why it's called a stop cut. And we keep going. This is quite an old seasoned branch that we had in the back garden that I cut a piece off, and we keep going, we keep pushing with the thumb. It just helps get that extra bit of force when you're cutting on the wood, to push with the thumb and your hand like that. Okay, so basically you're left with that kind of scoop kind of angle down to the bottom of the stop cut, which is what we've just done. Okay, and that leaves us with that lovely lip that you'll tie out your
Piece of paracord.
Yeah, whatever you're using. Some people use bank line, some people use paracord, some people use nylon rope, some people use jute twine. You could even, if you don't have any, cordage with you, use perhaps tree roots. Pine tree roots usually useful, but for this one it'll just be paracord. But yeah, so that makes that typical notch, that cut there, that it's going to catch on. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of neaten this off a little bit. So we're going to perhaps cut about that much off the top just to shorten it down a little bit. This is season. Hey.
Yeah, it's struggling a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like, not holding it very steady, it's a short piece of wood, but... There we go. Right, we're through. Okay, so let's just shorten that top down a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to round off, just take off that top edge all the way around. Again, using the thumb to help push the blade. Okay, always cutting away from yourself, and always make sure that when you're using sharps like saws, axes or knives, you tell whoever else you are with that you are using them and where you're going to be using them, so that when they're in camp they can avoid your area, so then nobody else should be in your area near and around the area of danger where you're using the sharps. It's always good to have like a bit of a cutting area if you can, especially when you're doing these types of jobs. Okay, now I'll explain why I've just gone around and just carefully rounded that top edge off. Right, so it now looks like that. Okay, I can kind of show you where the bark is now.
Close up of that.
Okay, you see that? Yeah. Okay, so the reason why we've done that, and you should do that every time you cut a peg, simple reason being, because that's the top and you're going to pound on that with the back of your axe to knock it in the ground, right? If that was just flat, it would do what's called mushroom, which is where the top of this would explode out and it would all split, go all loose. It'd be horrible and it would just completely knacker up your peg. So you round the top off and that disperses the impact when you hit it, so therefore it's less likely to split. Okay, so then on the other end we're going to put a point on there, okay, so that can then be driven into the ground. Okay, we've moved over from the shelter over to the chopping block. Okay, there's the peg as we've got so far, with the rounded top and the notch cut. Now we're going to the bottom end and we're going to pop a point on it, okay, so it can be driven into the ground. And again, you're just going to hold your wood at, say, a 45-degree angle.
Always hold your wood.
Make sure you've got a tight, firm grip on your wood. Okay.
Sorry.
Wow, son. Now, just cutting down quite easily. Just let the weight of the axe do the work, because you don't want to tire yourself out too much.
Especially when you're holding your wood.
Especially when you're holding your wood. Now, we can do a multi-angle point, or pretty much like a rounded kind of point, like this. And you just basically just keep rotating your piece of wood, or your peg. And as you keep going at that angle, keep rotating around, you'll get to a point where you've got one side left, and that then leaves you with a usable point to then drive into the ground. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is your completed peg. Quite easy, should take you probably what, 10-15 minutes a peg. It's nice to do, crack on, nice little job in camp. If you know you've got pegs to make, just sit and make a load. It's not hard. You can make quite a few out of one piece of wood. Dead easy. Remember, safety with sharps. Always carry a sharps first aid kit. That also will be in another video. Okay, there we go. That's the finished peg. Okay, your notch, your rounded top, and your pointed end. They're dead easy to make around camp. Absolutely anywhere. Simple, basic bushcraft skills for any beginner, anyone just starting out. The peg is your easiest place to start to learn some of these simple skills. Okay, so yeah, if you've liked that, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. In the description we're going to leave a link to our Patreon page. We also have 2 tiers for anyone who wants to become a Patreon member. It gives you access to exclusive content. Okay, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.